Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, let's talk about No Dime December. It has kicked off already, I suppose. This is the movement by J Gigs, which is, it's a pretty simple premise, really. It's do not spend any money at all on raid in December, because that will hopefully improve the game, right? That Plarium will notice, it will make a difference, hit them in their wallet, and the game will improve. I say that will be probably the shortest, quickest summary. I put up this poll 3 days ago. I actually got a lot of votes, 6.4 thousand votes. And these were the options. So interestingly, what's very interesting about this for me, I guess, it's not quite an accurate poll in terms of are you free to play or not. But if we take it as that, about 4 in 10 people, 39-40% of you are free to play. It means more of my viewers, at least according to this poll, are spenders than not, right? I say maybe it's not fully accurate. You could have some free to play players voting for no money for Plarium when they're actually free to play. It's maybe a little unclear, but still, I thought that was interesting that 60% are spenders, or 61% are spenders or have been spenders, and 39% aren't. That's pretty intriguing. Maybe I will do another poll at some time, just purely on are you free to play or not. I would have assumed it was a little bit higher on the free to play, but hey, there you are. But yeah, certainly in terms of this, if we look at the spenders, right, 10% gonna spend as usual, 51% saying no money for Plarium, that they're very much so on board with the No Dime December movement from J Gigs. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the whole No Dime December thing in this video. As you guys know, I don't really care about saying unpopular things. My goal is just to give you my take, and I'm going to try to be as fair and unbiased as I possibly can be. I'll also acknowledge my own biases as well and just give you my take on things. And you can do with that as you will, right? It's really up to you. So let's talk about it. I will say, in terms of my bias, let's get that out of the way straight away. I personally do not like any of these. I just don't really like group movements, just in general. Like, I don't like, whatever political rallies. I don't like boycotts. I don't like any of that stuff. Marches for things. It's just not for me. Like, personally, I'm a very much sort of an introvert, abstract thinker type person. Shocking, I know. You as the viewer are going, wow, nubkeks, that really doesn't come across in your videos. But like, for me, I'm the sort of person, I'm like, yo, let's just sit down, one-on-one. Let's come up with good arguments for it. And if your argument is good, like, yeah, cool, all right. I'm totally willing to change my position. And I feel like if everyone was like that in the world would be a much better place. Personally, I have really very little time for emotion or social, I don't know, social pressures and stuff like that, or social forces. For me, those things are a blunt instrument, if you will, from my point of view. I just don't think they're very good. I'm basically Spock from Star Trek, right? I'm like, captain that is simply illogical. That's basically me, if you want to see it. So I just generally don't like this stuff. So I do have a bias against it, I'll be honest. I'll just get that out of the way right at the start. But I will say also, it's just generally good advice. I think making things less moral is the most moral thing you can do, right? That's one of my big life lessons to pass on to you. This is for me to pass on to you. Seriously, though, it's like, I think a lot of people do the most horrible things when they think that someone is bad and they deserve it. That's when people are, I think, road rage is a great example of this. Like, you start screaming, like someone cuts you off in traffic. You're like, I hope you die, you son of a bitch. You cut me off in traffic. I hope you crash and your whole family is killed. And it's like, wow, oh my God, okay. This whole moralizing because I feel they did something wrong has made me a really horrible person. I think that morality, this social force, it can be obviously good, but it can also very easily make people do horrible things. And usually most of the most horrible things people do are because they think that they are right and the other person is wrong. So making things less moral in general, this is sort of a tangent. I don't know if this is really relevant to this at all, but hey, that's my big life lesson. Anyway, looking at No Dime December as well, I will say I'm really curious to run this poll like on whatever, January 1st, and say, New Year's resolution, be honest, guys, did you actually stick to it? What was the adherence? Because, like, there's not much room, is there, for people who are willing to spend to move over to not spending. But there's a lot of room for people to say, I'm not going to spend anything. But then to go, oh, you know what? Well, that's a really good pack for Christmas. You know what? It's Christmas. I'll treat myself. I'm not really bad for doing that. You know, I'm still doing the boycott in spirit. You know, it's just a cheeky little pack. And then spend a bunch of money. There's a lot of room for that. I'm very curious how adherence goes. He's certainly brave, J-Gigs, for doing this in December. That's a bold move. I think November, No Dime November would have been insanely successful very easily with almost no effort. I think, you know, No Dime January would have been, you know, New Year's resolution, started off on the right foot. I think that would have been pretty good. December's going to be tough because we got, you know, the city of Cintranos, the Cursed City, big piece of new content coming soon. You know, that's why November's so easy. One of the most negative spots in the game where there's been no new content for ages. A lot of people just burnt out and tired. December is tough, right? New content, right? Christmas deals, loads of events on. It's probably one of the most positive and fun times in the game where they're pumping stuff in to get people to spend, obviously. It's going to be tough. I would certainly say, I actually think J-Gigs has done a really good job so far. I think it is really important. It's a thin line not to annoy people, right? Harping on too much about this No Dime December, but I think you also do need to push it and create this idea of community involvement and to keep it conscious on people's minds and get them to keep sort of recommitting to the cause, because I think it's going to be hard for people not to spend during December, you know, like when those really good deals come in, or if it's a really good fusion, or oh man, there's great deals and this would really help me doing this new content and I want that. It's going to be tough to keep people committed. So that's why I'd say is, if you care about this, right, you know, push for it, create that community, go for it, to try to keep people going, because it's going to be a challenge. So that's up to you to be positive, and don't be a dick about it, but be positive in terms of let's go. So I definitely think that's something. Like I said, I'm just abstractly curious about how it will go. Certainly one of the things we've seen going around has been this idea of, well, it won't make a difference, right? The YouTube audience is too small. It won't make a difference to Plarium. It won't do anything. I disagree with that. I think that's wrong. I do agree that, you know, the YouTube community obviously is a small part of the Plarium player base, but of the Raid Shadow Legends player base, but it's probably the most engaged part, right? You know, like people who go watch YouTube videos, you're already, simply by watching a single YouTube video on a game, any game, you're already pretty much probably like 10% of the most engaged players in the game, if not more than that. Like, you know, it's a pretty big step. But yeah, I think that, you know, the YouTube community is fantastic. You know, it's very common. I see comments not only on my videos, but on every creator saying, you know, the reason I'm still playing this game, or I'm still engaged with this game, or I've played it so much, is because of the content creators and the community and my friends. That's a huge, huge deal. So a lot of the people here voting in this poll and saying they're not going, they are the most engaged players in the game. They're probably the biggest spenders in the game as well. You know, some of the biggest whales, the biggest krakens, the people that play this game the most, that keep things going the most. You know, it's one of those sayings, isn't it, that 10% of your player base are the ones who spend 90% of the money. And I think that 10%, a lot of them are going to be part of this community. So yeah, I think it's going to have a big impact. Like, I mean, put it to you like that. I mean, there's like 2 community managers who have a big focus on interacting with the YouTube content creators. Maybe there's more than that for other languages. I don't know. But like, yeah, they have a, you know, a YouTube program, a content creator program for streamers and YouTubers. And, you know, they give us test server access, all this sort of stuff. Like, Plarium care about the YouTube viewers and what they think about the game and what they do for the game. Like, that stuff matters to them. Now, if this boycott is successful, let's say we come to January and we come back and everyone that clicked, I'm not spending any money, every single person sticks to it and they go, I didn't spend anything in December. I did it. I stuck to it. 100% adherence. Boom, we did it. Does that make, or will that have made the game better? Now, that's a different question. I'm not sure. That is much less clear as to what would the actual results of that be. I mean, I can see it could be fairly likely they would fire the YouTube managers, which I definitely don't want to happen. I think they're great people and they do a great job. And I've really enjoyed working with them. I wouldn't want to see that happen, but that's something I could see being pretty likely. You know, the Plarium executives go, right, fire those YouTube guys, might maybe hire in some more. Maybe we spend more money on that, try to improve that, create more goodwill that way. I don't know, like how much does that translate into improvements for the game, as opposed to simply going, oh, well, we need to cut costs or maybe reinvest in marketing. Does that lead to investing in a better experience for the players? I don't know. I think it's a bit of a weakness of this movement as well, is that I feel like the goals are fairly vague. I did watch Jake Giggs. He did a video sort of specifically trying to delineate some of the goals, but even still, like I think if you polled everyone that said no money for Plarium and he said, okay, in bullet points, let's say you've got 2 or 3 bullet points, list the things that, your goal is to change. Like, what is the goal of No Dime December? I don't think you get consistent answers from everyone. Like, for me personally, and again, this is not something for everyone. Like, I did a video on this, and I hope that video has an impact, right? I do. But for me, I would say some of the big things to change, like the biggest one that resonated with me and with my commenters was fusions are getting too difficult. Fusions are too intensive. They're too punishing. They're too unfun. It's just not good for the game, in my opinion, and for player retention and enjoyment. It feels punitive. And that really resonated with my viewers. I don't think that has been as much of a push, though, from other content creators going into this. I don't feel like they feel that as strongly. So you could easily have a viewer that doesn't watch me and might come up with totally different points. They might not mention fusions even at all, right? So that's a big thing. I just don't think you've got consistent things, or like, what could Plarium do to make you happy with the game? I think you'd have very different responses. Like, someone might be like, oh, someone that's saying no money for Plarium might be like, oh, well, if they did, I don't know, $3 primal shards, I'm all in, baby, best game in the world again. Whereas for me, I'd be like, I don't really care. Personally, that's nice, I guess, but that doesn't really fix any of the problems that I would have. So I think there's a bit of vagueness in terms of this. I think it makes it broad appeal, because it's sort of like, if you've got any problem with Plarium, and who doesn't have any problem with Plarium, you're happy to go in for it. But I think it makes, actually resolving it. And like, if the Plarium executives sit down and like, well, what are we supposed to change? I think it's not quite easy. The community managers would be like, well, there's kind of a lot of different viewpoints on it. Like, it's not that simple of, I don't know. Like, I think of boycotts for other games would be like, oh, well, let's say with Blizzard, it's like, oh, well, like, you're whatever, one of your for high up producers or whatever is a sex offender, whatever. Well, I want to get rid of him. You go, oh, well, that's what we want. They're boycotting the game because this guy's a total dick. Yeah, if we get rid of him, hey, fix the problem. Cool. It's more complex than this here. Well, not to say that that's not complex, but you know what I mean. It's more vague here, shall we say. So I think that's going on. Am I personally going to do No Dime December? Personally, no, I'm not. I click that I'm spending as usual. Like I said, I just don't have that much interest in these sort of mass movementy type things. So yeah, I'm personally not that interested myself. The way I look at it, for me, is I think I sort of a benchmark, and I think it's a good benchmark for you generally as well, is to ask yourself, do you ever regret spending anything in the game? And for me personally, like, no, I've been happy with what I've spent. I don't feel like I'll actually show you in a second. I don't spend a crazy amount either as a content creator. In fact, I've been quite honest and open with you on this channel, oftentimes doing stuff because I'm a content creator. And I feel like as a content creator, I probably spend too little. I should probably spend more. I think it was back in May, I think I tried to whale out for a bit. It's like, okay, I'm going to buy more stuff and do more stuff because I feel like as a content creator, it's more advantageous. And I was like, it just, I don't really, not really me too much. But yeah, like I tend to feel very happy with any of the money I spend in the game. I'm happy with it. I enjoy the game overall. But I feel like the most good I can do, and I do, I hope, is in the videos that I make and the feedback I give. I try to guide people to playing the game in a way that hopefully everyone can follow that and feel like they're playing without regrets as well, and that you're actually enjoying it. I think that's bad. Like, I think if you sit down, and even if you say anything, if you're like, oh, well, I regret if you even regret like one purchase in the game, like that's probably one too many, right? Like, that's worth reassessing where you're at. For sure. I'll show you actually. So I thought this was interesting. This is how much I've spent since June, because it's just whatever on Plarium Play. I had to crop it because it was showing like some personal details and like email and stuff, or I don't know. But I cropped it. But this is what I've spent. So like this was the Prism shard. So I will actually address this directly, because I did get a comment from like a long-term viewer that was like, "Nope, I don't think you really did the right thing doing the Prism shard video." I feel like it contradicts you being very much against Prism shards in the past. The fact you did the 2 videos. It's like the second one I would not have done, but a viewer donated for me specifically to do it. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'll do it for a little bit of fun. And the viewer donated. So that's like, yeah, cool. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Probably wouldn't make that a super regular thing, but hey, it was quite fun once and I really appreciate it. So that was cool. But yeah, I don't know. It was like, I actually don't, I very, very rarely drink alcohol. And I think alcohol is, well, I don't just think, I know alcohol is bad for you, right? It's not a good thing for your health. But I had like a big glass of wine last night, and there's still, you know, some of the bottle left. I'm probably gonna have another glass of wine later today. Am I like contradicting or going against my stance that alcohol is unhealthy and should generally be avoided? No, it's just, you know, I actually felt like a glass of wine. So it's okay. It's very rare. And I feel like that was me with the Prism shards, you know? I just kind of felt like pulling some Prism shards for fun, for a video. I was motivated, enthusiastic, and I think it was a good video as well. And that it was entertaining, and it illustrated like how the Prism shards work. It was actually quite funny because it was an absolute disaster. So I think it was a good illustration. I think it was actually quite beneficial. So for me, spending $50 on that, not a big deal. By the way, I did calculate it up together. So this is in 6 months, June and start of June through to, well, today, end of November. Well, it's December now, but end of November. So it's like 295, which, you know, divided by, that's 6 months. It's about $50 per month. So I spent $50 per month on the game. I think Hades says he spent $500 per month. So, you know, I'm doing pretty well in terms of that. But I think, you know, this is fine. Again, I'm happy enough for that. In terms of what else I spent it on, I think most of the 1999s are I think that's a Forge Pass. One of these is a Forge Pass. I don't remember what the other one is, actually. I think both of these might be Forge Passes down here. The 9.99, that's a daily gem pack. So is that. And I think this is probably, this other 9.99 was a Warrior Circle pack. And yeah, then there's a couple I just don't remember. Like, I don't remember. This is back in June. Like, fuck me. I barely remember what I did yesterday. I don't remember what this was. It's probably Void Shards, I would guess. But I don't know. I actually don't remember exactly. So that could be anything. Who knows? I'd have to go back and check. But I'm not arsed really. I don't really care that much. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, $50 per month, just to let you know, this is what I've spent. But I'm expecting to probably do that as well. I'll probably spend $50 in December. Like, it's just kind of handy, right? Honestly, for me as a content creator, you know, like, if I spend, oh, man, it's tough. Like, you get really punished for taking time off doing this stuff. Like, we're planning a holiday next year, a big holiday to Japan. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is a super expensive holiday, but like, bloody hell, the cost of this holiday almost doubles when I like start to factor in like time out of work. Being self-employed, kind of brutal that way. But man, like, to spend $100 on like shards or something over Christmas and put up a shard pull video or two just to keep the channel going, like, for me, that's well worth it. But obviously that's not the case for anyone, for everyone. But for me, you know, that's, I'm like, okay, that's tempting. So yeah, I would not agree to no dime December just on that. I'm like, I might spend to make a video. But I always try to be clear in my videos when I do that. I'm like, I'm doing this because I'm a content creator. If I wasn't, I wouldn't. I don't know, take that as you will, right? But hey, it is what it is. So there you go. Look, there's some of my broad thoughts on this no dime December thing. I honestly think, you know, my biggest takeaway is, even if it, like, regardless of how it goes, I actually think, like I said, I think JGigs has done a really good job with this. And I think this will already have had a huge impact at Plarium. I don't think you're going to see too much of that come through immediately. Like, certainly in terms of the content or anything they're planning for the game. Like, content is designed months and months in advance, and it takes months to develop. I think people very commonly underestimate how much work goes into game development. I think that's very common, very common. But like, it's not going to affect content. But like, it could affect, you know, again, how it could affect how they structure like fusion stuff, how they structure events and things like that. Pricing for packs and stuff like that could come through sooner than that. You know, stuff that's kind of smaller and easier to change. That could definitely be affected. But I genuinely think, like, JGigs came out and made his initial video. I'd already been planning a video. Like there was clearly, it's clearly like hitting on the zeitgeist, right? The feeling of the times, right? The mood of the times. There was a huge amount of negativity, I think, brewing for J-Gigs, for me, for a lot of people in the game. And I certainly saw that with my comments on my video. A very big response where people really agreed with a lot of the things that I was pointing out. They're saying, yeah, I feel that too. And I think that's going to have an impact. It surely has to have an impact on Plarium. That has to come back to them, right? Where the community managers come to the developers, the guys in the suits as well, and go like, guys, look, this is the feedback. There's like a growing trend of negativity. It is getting worse. These are like some of the points that the different people are bringing up. And then it's up to them to sit down and decide, like, what are we going to do about it? Hopefully they do a good job. That's obviously not guaranteed, but there's not much you can do about, determining their response. That's up to them. And if they're good at their jobs, they'll fix it. If they're bad, they won't. Or, maybe they'll be lucky. If they might be bad at their jobs and lucky and manage to fix it. Or they might be really good at their jobs but a bit unlucky and it will flop. But like, it's sort of up to them at that point. But I do think that, even if J-Gigs wasn't here and didn't do this video, I think that he really hit the nail on the head. But I think that, there was a nail to be hit, right? And I think that nail has been getting bigger and easier to hit for a long time. And it's sort of up to Plarium to fix that. But I think they will have taken notice no matter what. I think they will have taken notice of this. I mean, the fact that No Dime December, that this concept could even take off and grab the community's attention so much, that has to grab Plarium's attention as well. And for them to go, okay, guys, maybe we really have effed this up. Like, what have we done wrong? What should we change? I mean, that's part of the goal of my video as well. And often is, to try give clear feedback to them so that if they want, I don't know, maybe they don't watch my videos, maybe they don't give a shit. But hey, I'm doing my part. And if they want, they can watch my videos and hopefully see what I think. And then they can take it and see if they agree with that or not. And yeah, anyway, give clear feedback and hopefully something good will be done. But yeah, I don't know. They're certainly not going to like change the way every single thing has been done, but I'm hoping that they can change some of the more recent trends. In particular for me, it's like making fusions more accessible. I do agree with J-Gigs in one of his videos, which was that events, which is a similar point really, which is that events are kind of too hard. Like you've got tournaments, they're hard. Make events easier, make that more accessible. I think that's good. I did actually feel like, where was it? Over here, hang on. Nubchat, should I build this? Yeah, you should definitely build him. I think in like the raid announce, I thought this was interesting. They said it here. I don't know. It was in here somewhere anyway that, yeah, it was like, I don't know, where was it here? It was something like it's, this one here, right? Two difficulty levels here. Don't have to pursue extreme time efficiency for farming. I thought that was a big part as well, which is like, I was giving feedback for that, certainly on the more recent dungeons, which was like, I actually think that, for a dungeon to be really difficult, like Sand Devil, well, like, it's better for a dungeon to be easy and then for the difficulty to be and being like efficient with your time and clearing the dungeon faster. That's really good for dungeons that you have to farm. That actually makes it good. Whereas you can have something like Doom Tower be extremely hard because it's something you do like once a month, right? The hardest version of the boss, you do it once a month and you're done. You can farm them, but like that's more of an optional thing. I think that works well for Doom Tower, but it's a disaster for dungeons like Sand Devil, right? If it's just obnoxiously hard and you need very specific champions to do it, that's just not good for the game. So I thought that was sort of an interest. I don't know if that's really responding to any of that stuff directly, but hey, anyway, there we go. Yeah, Doom Tower is a good reference point. So that's interesting. I think the problem is with Sand Devil and Phantom Shogun is that they're sort of equivalent to like a Bommel or something. They're like ridiculously hard, but they're dungeons you're supposed to farm, and that's been a very negative thing. But yeah, anyway, look, I'm babbling on. That's sort of what I think. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope I'm not crucified by the comments for not being super on board this. I mean, it really would behoove me to agree. Like, man, I'd be a winner with 5 out of 6 people if I lied. Gosh darn it, I'm a fool. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.